Yeah, so like I'm living in like the weirdest timeline. Like I've always kind of wondered if this is just some like really weird like extended vivid dream that I'm having and I'm like just like still laying in bed still and I just like don't realize it. Yeah, it's funny actually like in lucid dreams like, right before you figure out you're dreaming, like all the dream characters like they start talking about dreams, like trying to get you to put the pieces together in your head that you're like actually dreaming. Yeah, most people tend to assume I'm anywhere from like 19 to like 24 years old. I'm 33 years old. Like I'm supposed to like look like a grown man at this point, but most people assume I'm like just heading into college. Like I actually worked as a cashier in like a grocery store about a year ago, and like people would constantly be like, "So have you picked where you're going to go to school yet?" But I would always sort of like play along with it, because like I just didn't want to like dash their hopes. Because I mean, it's just like it's such a perfect scene, like young go-getter gets a job as a cashier while contemplating if he wants to further his education. I'd always just say like, yeah, I'm looking at different schools. See, a lot of people see this as a negative. Like I've had people tell me like, oh, grow a beard out, bro. Like, so that I can look older. And I've had people tell me in the comments that I might have like low testosterone or something. And maybe that's true. But honestly, like I kind of don't mind looking like way younger than I am. Like to me, like if somebody said that I look mature or like old, I would just kind of interpret that as meaning that I look more dead. Like, youth, if anything, sort of like roughly translates to health. So when somebody says that I look like way younger than I should, I just interpret that to mean that I look like way healthier than I should. So, I'll take that. I started watching Dragon Ball Super recently, and there's a real emphasis in that show on the concept of like divinity. And I mean, it's not hard to see why, because like I kind of think that's like the only way they could have like continued that show. So I mean, if Goku like really had his heart set on it, like he could probably blow up a planet if he wanted to. Like how do you make somebody more powerful than that? Well, obviously you make him a god. And what's interesting to me is that when Goku first transforms into a Super Saiyan god, like it doesn't make him more muscular or like have like big hair or whatever. Like it actually makes him like smaller and sort of like younger looking. Like I just kind of feel like there's a deep intuition there, Like you can only take sort of like muscles and like bulking so far, but like there's a level above that where you actually become like smaller and sort of like younger looking. I think rock music sort of also hits on this idea. Like I think rock is sort of like a level above like muscles. Like at some point you sort of like you hit the top of being a gym bro like so hard that you sort of hit the bottom of the other thing. And so instead of getting like like more muscular or like more burly or like hairy, like instead you sort of get like androgyny and like emotional softness. Like I'm so manly that I broke through to the other side and now I look a little girly. But I mean, I just don't see that as like weakness, Like I kind of see it as sort of like robustness. Like no matter how much asphalt you pour down on the ground, like that supposedly weak little blade of grass is always going to find its way through, And I mean, it's not just in how musicians look, but it's just represented in all aspects of rock music. Like I always kind of thought the Beatles sort of represented this idea well. Like, here's four dudes who are like not technically the best at playing their instruments, but it doesn't matter because like the spirit of what they're doing is like embedded in the ideas of their songs. And so it's sort of like timeless and robust, not because of like super technical prowess and like years and years of training, but just because the melodies they wrote sort of have like their own distinctive spirit to them. And it probably like felt good to write them. And you can sort of feel that when you listen to their songs. Like it's sort of like a swish, like effortless, graceful. And see, the best part is that they made you feel like anybody could do what they were doing, Like they were just kind of four dudes who maybe hit on some magic that they didn't expect to. But it's not just for them or like, some select group of kids or something. But it's for everybody. Yeah, I showed my ID to this guy at CVS when I was buying my dad nicotine lozenges. Because, I mean, I get carded all the time. And like I could see him like visibly recoil when he saw that I was born in 1986. Same thing happened when I worked at the supermarket and told my coworkers that I was like in my 30s. Like, just like visible shock. And, people always called me things like buddy and like, they say things like, oh, stay out of trouble. They still sort of treat me like I'm full of potential, which isn't to say that I'm not, by the way. Yeah, I think I look this way for a couple of reasons. One is probably genetics. And two is that I kind of dress young, And three is like, I think the idea of like looking old, like outside of being like a genuine geriatric, I mean, it just comes down to the state of someone's health, Like, I mean, I could probably make myself look 33. Like, if I really wanted to, like, if I just went on like a 3-year drinking bender and like ate nothing but chocolate cake, like, my skin would be all dry and cracked and I'd have like boils all over my face. But I mean, I've actually taken pretty good care of my health over the years, probably to like a pathologically like obsessive level. Like, cause I'm kind of a lunatic. Like, and I'm not talking about just like diet or exercise either. Like, it goes way deeper and like way weirder than that. Like, maybe I'll make a video about that at some point, like outlining like what it is exactly that I do. So I mean, it's just relatively simple things that like anybody could do, but it's just things that you would just never expect, that just like it took a ridiculous amount of trial and error to find. But it seems to work for me because I feel pretty fantastic most of the time, unless I like deviate from what I'm doing. Then I get like all depressive and like my face gets all puffy and like it breaks out in acne, and it's just generally not fun. I mean, in a couple of videos that I have up, like you can totally see that I'm like talking slower and like I have like a pimple on my lip somewhere. Like I'd probably eaten like a pint of ice cream a couple of days before that, which that makes me feel like crap for a couple of days. But yeah, like I can be whatever the hell I want to be. So can you. George Harrison once actually said in an interview that like he's still the same guy no matter what age he is. I mean, I don't think those were the exact words that he used, but I mean, like, yeah, like I don't have to act my age. Yeah, that's just some nonsense designed to scare you. I'm just acting like me. Like, I'm still the same guy that I was when I was like 19 or like when I was 27. Just I'm a more nuanced version of that guy. But, I still feel exactly the same way I've always felt. In fact, I kind of just keep feeling better and better as I get older. Like, I probably have more energy now than I did when I was younger. See, I kind of feel like this isn't me looking younger so much as it is just me with like no static in the signal and just like the volume turned all the way up.